Hi, it's John Williams here at MIT, and I thought I'd give you a quick overview of this assistant builder. It'll build OpenAI assistants. So the code is here. We spin up our own web server, and we're using Node, and here's server.js that you can see, and that will spin up a web server that's going to interact with OpenAI and build our assistant that we're going to run. So basically what we're doing is we're interacting with the OpenAI APIs, their models, and providing GPT, for example, with certain tools. All the tools are under this function here, and so I've got a number of tools. So for example, here we've got scrape a website, and this will take a screenshot of the website. This crawl domain is a more sophisticated scraping, which will try to answer a question by scraping a website and using embeddings to determine what pages on that website are relevant and send them to GPT to answer the question. So this is quite sophisticated. I suggest you start with get open weather and just ask it what's the weather in Boston, and this tool will get called. This get country suggests, if you give it a name, what country that person belongs to. This one is just get latitude and longitude. You probably don't want to use that at the moment. The get open weather is will handle cities as it is. So those are the tools that we'll be loading up to use. We can also create files, and the outputs at the moment, some of the outputs are going into this output file subdirectory here, but also here this are some crawling results, and these are the URLs that have been crawled. These two will be started up by the function here that does the web crawling. So the crawl domain gen embeds function. Okay, let's spin it up into action. So what we want to do here is we'll go to the top level and here go into code spaces and create a code space. There's a dev container here that I suggest you don't actually touch. It should be fine. And here I've got my model, so let me start it up. I suggest the first time that you start this up, we're using Node and NPM, Node Package Manager. So the package.json lists all the libraries. I suggest you do an npm install. I've done that previously, so it's part of this image that's going to be loaded for me, but for you, you'll need to do an npm install. So it's bringing now, we've got a container that's running. So we're in the cloud, and as I say here, under your terminal window, do npm install. You may need to install LangChain for one of the tools, and obviously you just do npm install LangChain. But if we run npm install, it should do a good job. As I say, I've pre-installed these, so for me it's going to be fairly quick. And you know that will create your node modules. If you have any problems, I suggest you delete the node modules and do a reinstall. The only problems I've really had have been with libraries, and not so much the libraries with OpenAI, but the general libraries. So your node modules there, we're loading quite a lot of libraries. Okay, so to run it, we just do node server .js. It's running on localhost 4000. You can easily change that if you're using 4000 for something else. It'll pop up, open a browser. So this is popping a hole into the container so that we can access it remotely. So we're actually hitting the remote container here. And this is the user interface. And down here we've got the responses from GPT. So the first thing you'll want to do is to create an assistant. So here this creates an assistant, and the default is I'm giving it the capabilities to retrieve files and also to run code. Now we're going to add tools later to that to access the tools that we're providing. But we need an assistant. Once you've created one, that assistant is going to be created up, and if we go to our OpenAI and log in, we'll see under here the assistants, I've just created that assistant. So we've got our assistant up there. You need to manage these probably, and for example, if we load files, we may want to manage and just not have too many versions of the same file. Here I can delete this one, for example. I've already got it loaded. Okay, so going to OpenAI will show us our manager, but we're actually creating it dynamically here. I'm not going to upload a file for this demo, but let me create a thread. So we can put messages on this thread and then we'll run them. So let's first ask, what is the weather in Boston? Okay, that should be fine. So we create that message and we're putting it onto this thread, and now we want to run that thread. So, but first let me add the tools. Usually I add the tools before I create the message actually, but that's fine. So here you can see I'm adding quite a number of tools. This voluminous output here we can cut down later. I'm leaving it in for debug purposes. Now I can create, or rather run, the thread, and that will now, what it's going to do when I do get status, it's going to look to see if there's any message back from GPT saying that it wants to run a tool. So this get status is going to pick up a tool. If we go now and look at what's happening, you'll see here it's called our weather tool, get open weather. So it's already called the tool with Boston, and here's the response, and I'm only printing out a little, but if we go back to our assistant and now get the message, we'll see the current weather in Boston is, so we called our tool and it's outputting our message. Let's try a little bit more sophisticated one. Let's ask it to take a screenshot of, let me see, let's do MIT.edu. Okay, so I'll create the message. So I'm adding that now to the thread. Now I need to run that thread. So let's create another run. So here, and we can get the status. And this should be fairly quick actually. And if we get the message, take screenshot of website. Let's see if it's completed it. If we now look in our, let's have a look in our output here, we should see a screenshot of MIT. Let's have a look. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so if we look here, yeah, there's our screenshot of the MIT website. Okay, we just do one more. So now let's tell it to scrape. Lunar Mail has not many pages, which is ideal. Scrape Lunar Mail website and answer question: what services do they provide? Okay, so let me create that message. So I'm pushing the message onto the thread. I'll create the run. Okay, there it goes. Now this is going to do quite a lot of work. Let's have a look here. Okay, here, let's have a look. I think it's scraping, so it's still working. Here it goes. So it still requires action. It's going out and doing things. It's scraping the website and then deciding what are the key words on that page. What are the words that are relevant? So this is doing a lot of work. It's basically doing embeddings, and I suggest you go through in some detail exactly what's happening here, but you see it's in progress still. So there's interactions back and forth between OpenAI. This tool is asking OpenAI for help in figuring out what are the keywords, and then it's doing embeddings, and it'll do, now it's completed. And if we go back, now let's take a look if we get the messages. Yeah, Lunar Mail provides the following services: disposable email, ability to generate unlimited free trials, shopper discounts, Chrome extension. Okay, so it's scraped quite a lot of data. If I go and take a look, I'll be able to see here the URLs that it's scraped. So here, for example, Lunar Mail, it got that many pages. Let me just get rid of that. And the content is quite a lot of content you'll see here. And it basically needs to clean this up. It has cleaned it already. There's a lot of HTML in the original web pages that will need to be stripped off. So this is quite a sophisticated tool. Really nice one. Okay, so that's our assistant. It's Rev 0.0.1. So I found this is really useful. If you go then to OpenAI, you'll be able to see that assistant, that you could spin it up here. And so, for example, we could test it here, enter our message, running it, etc. But I find it better to control it here from our web server. So if you look at the code, the web server is doing a lot of calls, managing, for example, here when we throw a message onto a thread and run it, we basically need to poll for results, and when it's completed, we can get the messages. So we should be finished here. So that's the last message. It's just sitting there now waiting for new messages. We could do something like, who are you? And create that message, create a run, get a status. Let's get the message back. And it's come. So we're talking to GPT. I am an AI assistant. But I was demonstrating there our tools, having GPT ask for tools and interacting. And you'll see a lot of messaging going back and forth on the terminal window. So you can see here that we've done a tremendous amount of work interacting with the GPT. Our assistant is just sitting there waiting for messages. So I hope you enjoy this assistant. It simplifies coding, that basically we can do some quite sophisticated things. Take a look at the way tools are handled. It's quite a neat way of loading up new tools, and it'll pick up any tool that's stored under that function directory. So let me know if you have any suggestions. Obviously this is a fairly primitive tool, but this is a fast moving field and I wanted to get something to you. Okay, bye for now.